Hello, everybody. Welcome to my weekly meltdowns coverage of Survivor 43. We have so much to talk about. You and I, Beth, were like talking in our chat before the show, and I was like, no, we got to save it because for once, like surprisingly, there's a lot of stuff to talk about tonight, and I'm really excited because we disagreed on a few things before we were like, no, let's save it for the show. So the dialogue is going to be good tonight. I'm excited. But how the hell are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
I had a great Thanksgiving. I got to go see some family, got to relax at my parents' house for a little bit, got to see some snow, got to see the snow melt, got to, pet some cats. So all in all, good time. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. So my mom came up for to see the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And I had this like whole grand plan to like leave at like 7:30 a.m. to like get like a good place in line and stuff like that. Mom was like, I just want to see like the important stuff, so we can like roll out of bed at like 10 and like head over there. And so that's what we did. And I was on like 56th and like 6th Avenue, so like right kind of near where like the bottom of the Central Park is.
Mm-hmm.
And we got there and there was like not a lot of people there. Like we were only maybe like 3 or 4 rows behind people up to like the gate. So like we saw like we were very close to it. So we got to see
Cool.
we got to see some of the performers like going by. We saw Pikachu and Eevee, and then we saw Santa Claus. And Mom, like she loves the Thanksgiving Day Parade. She's very much so a Christmas gal, and she helped me pick out this new tree too. By the way, shout out to Donna Lyons. But no, she was like very happy. Like I've never seen her like smile so big. She's always wanted to see Santa at the parade live. So
well, Santa for me, when Santa crosses in front of Macy's, it is officially Christmas season.
That's what my mom always says.
Mm-hmm. And the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Now this year, I slept in and I did not watch it. And when we went over to my aunt's house, it was right when Santa would have been crossing the finish line, and I did not have control of the television, and instead I had to watch pregame coverage of the Lions versus whoever they faced, the Patriots, I think. I don't know what it was, but anyway, let's say hello to the people who are here in the chat and joining us tonight. Of course, we want to say hello to Matt Henning, our wonderful mod. We have Joseph Boza. We have John P. Music. We have Heather Jean. We have Linda Maxwell. Welcome on in, y'all. And yes, thank you for noticing our Christmas trees. I did put up my Christmas decorations earlier today while I was working. So yeah, one of the perks from working from home, being able to put up your Christmas tree. Yeah. Believe me, I don't know. Are you like this too? I will start one task and then think of another task and then start and go do that task, then come back, finish the first task, then think of a third task. At one point all I wanted to do was clean my floor. And then I got halfway through cleaning my floor and I went, well, I should get all the Christmas stuff out because it's going to create more dust. So I got all the Christmas stuff out. And then I had to vacuum and clean the floor again. And then I started to put my tree up and I went, well, I wanted to move this stuff.
I know exactly what you mean because like since like everything's like on my own, like I have to like prioritize like, all right, who should I like edit first? Like I need to like respond to emails, like a website update changes. Like it's never ending in terms of like having to like self prioritize like what needs to come first and everything. And all the while like Sora's like looking at me like, give me attention. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, you're Sora, like my students are Sora, essentially. So like all of a sudden I'll get a text or an email when I'm halfway through doing something. And I pride myself on being responsive and responsible. And, you can count on Beth, but my God, it was a lot.
Mm-hmm. I feel you. So before we get into the meat and potatoes and Thanksgiving turkey of it all, I shout out to the cinematographers this episode. this episode was shot so well, and like I loved all the B-roll footage of like that little like iguana lizard, I don't know what it's called, climbing up the tree.
Yeah.
All the shots like of them close up while like the challenge was going on was really great too.
All of the shots of them not seeing where the advantage was while they were literally right next to it.
Yeah, I know, right? Yes. Okay, so let's start there. So because so that's that when they were like all sitting on the beach like watching the beautiful sunrise, I was Beth like, this is like a total like representation of my frustrations with Modern Survivor, because I was thinking to myself like, God, what a beautiful character moment where the game has just slowed down and we are just like getting to know these people. It feels so nice. It feels so warm and fuzzy. And I just love like just like no dialogue there. Like you just are just like feeling them as like human beings for a second. And then it gets interrupted by some rando coming up in a boat, giving Carla an advantage like clue to read that basically just says, there's an advantage in the jungle. Go have fun. And then it just turns into this wild, like chickens with their heads cut off, like just running around the jungle and stuff. And I was like, of course, this is what has to happen.
See, I liked it because I thought it was poetic that there is no break in Survivor.
Yeah.
Period. So the moment that you catch your breath, you realize you got to start running immediately. And I loved this juxtaposition. I thought it was really poetic. I thought it was beautifully shot. I loved the shift in music from being kind of inspirational and calm and peaceful to like as soon as you start seeing the boat come, it all of a sudden there's a little bit of tempo change, and then it went right into the dun 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 dun, dun kind of music, and I was like, oh, okay, this is an adventure. I'm here for it. You know, I liked that. I love that they changed up what it was going to look like out there. I think a lot of people, again, this is where Modern Survivor, I think, is making a good decision, which is, okay, people are expecting something that's really bright and that's going to stand out against things that we see them that they literally can't see an idol that's right there because they are trained to look for something super bright. I love that the game changed this up. Good job, production.
Yeah. And so this was actually how Russell Hands, like he's said in interviews many times that this is how he found so many advantages, was he really was looking at the cameramen and seeing like where the cameramen were kind of like fixating shots on. And I was like screaming at the TV. I was like, just look at the damn cameraman. He is
seriously
literally parked right there at the freaking tree. And like, you have to wonder, like, why is he like standing right there? Like for all of these shots, like if it was just like one or two, like, of course I understand that. But like, we literally got a whole montage, I think, of all 7 players like walking past that tree with the camera just right there with the clue right in the foreground for us.
My favorite was the moment that it was teased. Gabler's coming up and he's talking and he's looking down and then he looks up and the idol's right here and he literally goes, it just moves past it. And I was like, no!
Oh my God.
You're so close. Excuse me. But yeah, so that advantage is a new one that we haven't seen that before in Survivor. This is the choose your champion advantage. Yep. And so essentially with this advantage, which Cody did find while he was talking to Gabler, he had his arm up on the tree, it kind of just grabbed it. And
I love that they caught that moment where like he was talking to Gabler and he saw it mid-sentence and he had to like give no reaction to it. That was a very authentic moment.
It was incredible because not a muscle in his face changed except for his eyes. Yeah. And his eyes darted back over to Gabler, back over to the advantage while he was mid-sentence, and his face was frozen halfway through saying a word. And he just continued on, but that eye twitch gave it all away, which I don't think somebody's going to notice.
No.
20 days into a game of Survivor that's been intense. So I loved that moment. Kudos to Cody, because that I'd like to think I could do that, but I also couldn't do that if I was starving for 20 minutes, let alone 20 days.
Yeah.
So
basically the advantage is Cody has to write down one player that he thinks will win immunity. Yes. And if that person wins, then he also has immunity at Tribal Council. How do you feel overall about this twist?
I think it's a great one because, again, it's an advantage only if you can earn it, right? Rather than having to make a decision that you don't know what it is, all the cards are put out on the table for him. And so there's no tricks, there's no gags. It's just how well do you think you know? And the moment he started talking about, well, I was like, the worst, stupidest decision you could do would be to bet on yourself. That's the worst thing that you could do.
Yeah.
Because you can't. You know what I mean? Like, if you win immunity, it's not like you win another immunity to give to somebody. It's not like you get an idol. So you have to hedge your bets. And then based off of if it's between you and one other person, then you have to go, do I want this person to have immunity or not? And then it doesn't matter. And if you don't want them to have immunity, you stick in it. Which should tell the other person, bitch.
Yeah.
He didn't choose you, that kind of thing. I just think that with something like this, if he had been in longer where he was really making, strides for winning, I think that would have told more information. I think he left at a good time in that competition where I don't think anybody was looking at him like, oh, this was a strategic thing.
I see. Well, how do you? I loved the twist. I thought it was really cool. I just wish that they announced like after the immunity challenge was over, like everybody's like on the little like boat thingy, not boat, but like floating platform. Thank you. I just said thank you to myself. LOL. But
I did that today in a meeting with a student. I go, what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word? It's not morals. It's not blah, blah, blah. It's, you're trying to, it's values. Thank you. Me.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you.
God.
But no, I just I think it's weird that like it wasn't revealed who it was until like after everybody had voted and everything.
I love it.
I understand like it being used kind of as like an idol play, so it makes sense to like put it right there. But I just feel like it's weird that like I guarantee you there was like an unsaid rule that like Cody wasn't allowed to tell like even Jesse who he wrote down on the piece of parchment. And I just think that that's weird that like you are purposefully like production is making you withhold information that you could use to like build a strategy around. Does that make sense?
But I think you can also build a strategy around it, right?
Oh,
you could throw red herrings out the wazoo and be like, I don't know, guys. I don't think we should vote for that person, or those kind of things.
But you could still do that method, but not have that silly rule in place. Like, why not have that choice of like which way like do you want to play this, right? It's like productions like they're putting the shock value of that moment at tribal over what I think could be like a little bit more complex strategy, especially with like somebody who is so like a close valuable number 2 is Jesse, that he can like bounce ideas back and forth with,
Well, I think what this really did was when you don't tell and Cody can't tell, it turns, and I don't know, maybe Cody could have told. It didn't seem like anybody was too shocked when he said Owen. And maybe that's because I also, as a person, would have chosen Owen if I couldn't choose Cody for this challenge.
It's possible.
I think what's possible is that they did know because nobody seemed shocked. Or if they didn't, for this one, for me, it's a no-brainer. Cody's in the spotlight here. What if we have a plan A to get Cody out? Because I think there's a built-in idea that we're not going to know until afterwards. So let's not even touch Cody. He had built-in immunity regardless because of that.
Right.
And I think you and I are on different sides specifically with Carla tonight. But I'm disappointed with her for one thing, which is I wish she could have seen, and I wish Gabler could have seen, and Owen could have seen, and Cass could have seen, this is the time to split up the other duo. And I expected it more from Carla because Carla was kind of getting played by Sammy in this episode. And I really think that what she should have been able to do is take the reflection of the things that she's self-conscious about in this game. This idea that Cass is like almost a detriment now, that people see them as this couple, and then think, who are the other couple? let's make them the people to go after. But why don't I start planting the seeds that I wouldn't be mad to see Cass go, but still utilize her for this round? Because I think you use plan A. Hey, plan A, we're going after Cody. And if he ends up having immunity, this is our plan B. And it's Sammy. And all you need are Gabler, Carla, Cass, Owen. You just need that 4. You don't tell Sammy the plan either way. And you could have said, plan A, great. He doesn't have immunity. We vote Cody out. We split out the other pair because he's not going to play his immunity idol. That'd be dumb.
Right.
And then plan B, oh shit, he did have immunity like he did tonight. We're going to still get Sammy out because we know that's probably what the boys are going to end up doing. It's frustrating for me to not see the 4 of them come together and can't see that. But I think Carla is especially blinded by this relationship with Jesse. And it's one that we don't really see on the show, but it's been hinted at quite a few times. And having listened to quite a few other podcasts talking about it, it's actually quite a strong relationship. It's just not showing up on the show.
It was in the premiere, I think, was like them like bonding like right away. So I was just getting so frustrated because like I think the right move was to take out Sammy tonight. And I just thought it was silly that like that first of all that Carla would believe that Sammy got that info from Cassidy to begin with, right? Like I don't understand
that was silly. That was silly.
I don't understand how like you don't see like what he has to gain from that, especially when everybody knows that you have an idol, Carla. Everybody knows that Sammy does not have an idol. Again,
well, also the body language
where the pieces are.
Purely just from a body language, tone, nonverbal communication, the way he said Cass and then looked down and away, like there was nothing believable about that. And I was like, girl, he has lied way better to your face before.
I think that's where his age is kind of like a detriment. Like he doesn't know how to like pull shit like that off, especially to Carla.
Well, I also, I keep having to remind myself, I don't have to remind myself that he's 19. What I have to remind myself about is that he is, it comes from a very Mormon religious family. And this is probably one of his first instances coming out and like really genuinely lying because it's for a game. Yeah. Right. And I'm sure that there's a part of him too that is like, this isn't necessarily something I can do like all the time. So I think that there are times when he lies and he's really good at it. And then there are times when he lies and he's really bad at it.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes it masks well because he's young and people kind of go, I can't tell with him. But now they know they can't trust him. And they knew that, which is why he goes home.
I was just happy to see, like, because I was worried that, like, it was going to be Cassidy. I was like, are they doing, like, another, like, Ryan vote in terms of, like, taking somebody off the playing field who they could probably beat pretty easily? Like, especially when Carla is saying in confessional, like, me and Cassidy have played similar games. And I'm like, yeah, but, like, everybody thinks that you have done the superior job at that in that game. Like, even if you're clumping the two of you guys together, like, who is going to vote for Cassidy? Like, no offense to Cassidy, I'm sure you're a lovely person on the outside, bless your heart, all that jazz. But Carla has won challenges. She's won Cassidy
won challenges.
Oh, that's true, but now Carla has 2 under her belt. So, like, even with
Carla and Owen are now the only people who have won a second immunity challenge. Other than that, everybody's only won 1.
Yeah. And then Carla has also won hidden immunity idols as well. Like, and just overall socially, she's had a much bigger role in terms of like where the ship has really steered like all season long. I can't really point to a single time when Cassidy has been the one to like come up with the plan and execute it or anything. So it's hard to see where like I tweeted out, I was like, I know the editors are not trying to fool us into thinking that Carla is going to vote out Cassidy over Sammy. I was like, this is a red herring if I've ever seen one. And so I'm just glad that like Carla was thinking with her head on this one. But I was worried that she wasn't because of that Ryan vote and how stupid I still think that was.
So the point that you just brought up, right, about the editing, the red herring moment, what I was thinking, and I actually, man, there's the slightest, okay, full disclosure, I almost went to a live showing of the party. where Carla was going to be tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And I was gonna, if I'd been there in person, you better believe I was going to ask her, did you know this entire time and you wanted to see how people would react? Because that would give you an idea as to whether or not Cass is really someone that you should be worried about losing, or should you strengthen that relationship even more?
Yeah.
Because if you perform the red herring and play people like I'm good with Cass, and then you're hearing Jesse start pitching Sammy because you're defending Sammy, that should tell you Jesse's not really with me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I thought this was a strategy on her part, but we haven't seen a lot of.
You should tweet at her. Like she's very active, like with the fans and stuff on Twitter. I bet you.
Well, you know what I could do is like call one of my friends who's at the bar right now and go, okay, put Carla on the phone just for a second.
You could do that.
And then just be like, hello, I have a question for you. Was this strategy tonight in order to see who would start pitching another name because they think they'd be a bigger ally for you and therefore you know who you couldn't trust? It was? Man, you're a fucking queen. Have a great night. And then like that would have been it.
I wish. Gosh,
It's been unfortunate too, because a lot of the really good moves Carla has made in the jury have been saved for deleted, unaired scenes. And that has really made me upset because I feel like pre-merge into early merge, it was the Carla show.
Yeah.
And now we're really seeing it's the Jesse show. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing kind of the fall. It's not like a plummet, but it's a gradual descent of Carla's agency and power in the game. And I think if tonight went the way that I was hoping it was, that means that they're going to wait till next week to be like, in the first 5 minutes, be like casually, oh, so that whole last vote, I was actually
they've been doing that a lot this season.
They've been doing it a lot. Yeah. And so I'm calling it now. If this was the case, that's how they're going to present it next week.
Well, I'm kind of thinking the same thing as Matt here. He said, all of this Carla unaired footage makes me think her fall is coming, which is sad. I actually think, is Carla a losing finalist? Because like she's gotten enough visibility up to this point, like that I think that she has enough content that like she could get to the end. But
I think she gets fifth place. I think that she's in that fifth place spot. She's the first vote out, the one that hurts the most going into the last episode. She's the first vote out of finale night. And then I think, she's not going to go out and fire making. She's not going to do that. Like she's going out fifth because there's no way. You look at that jury, there are people who want to vote for her there. There's no way she's a no vote finalist. She might be a losing finalist, but she's not a no vote.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think she's going to go out fifth because I think next week they're teasing, all these relationships are kind of, I'm putting money on this now. I think Owen's in the final three. I think Gabler's in the final three. And I think Jesse's in the final three. And I think that's your final three right there.
And I could see that happening because like that scene right at the beginning of the episode where Owen's like feeling hopeless. Like I feel like we start out every episode with Owen feeling hopeless. And I'm rooting for him. I hope he wins, all that stuff. But Gabler goes up to Owen. He's like, listen, man, I have a plan for us to get to the end together. And like, Gabler, you have been the one to like flip last minute and like cause like chaotic shit. Like I say all the time on this podcast that like players like Gabler terrified the shit out of me, and you should get out immediately because you can never trust that the plan's gonna go through. And
you're a hard game theory person to plan for.
The irony of Gabler saying at Tribal Council tonight, like, let's stick with the plan. I was like, please, since when have you ever stuck to a plan in Survivor, mister? But it was just very, like, out of place. Like, I'm curious, like, why they put that conversation in. And maybe that's why, like, maybe Owen and Gabler, like, take, like, a run to the end together. Mm-hmm. Maybe, like, use Carla and Cassie to get Cody out. And then because Jesse So Matt put in like a comment saying like there's basically like 3 couples left, and it's basically just like a swingers party at this point, which is true. So like if Owen and
But going in, the only couple who's truly together right now is Jesse and Cody.
Right, exactly. So I think that Owen and Gabler are going to convince Carla and Cassidy to take out Cody at Final 6. And then because Jesse is the one that survives out of the two of them, his threat level is going to go smaller than like Carla and Cassidy as like a collective. So Jesse's going to go with Owen and Gabler to vote out Cassidy and then Carla or something like that. So then that's how the final 3 happens, and then Jesse runs away with the win.
I agree with Henning, and this is what I was going to get at, is what Henning put it with, I think her idol's getting flushed at Final 6. I 100% agree. I think next week we see 2 idols played. One that comes from Jesse that is Cody's. He maybe gives it back to Cody. And I think Cody plays an idol or Jesse plays an idol for Cody, and we're good there, right? Because Jesse technically has one of Cody's idols.
But it's in his possession, right? So like because of the rules, like Jesse, it is like technically under Jesse's like possession.
Correct.
In terms of, like, where it could go, right?
I think what would be detrimental for a jury vote from Cody, though, is if he didn't give it back, if Cody said, give me my idol back.
I could see Jesse doing that, though.
I could too, but I also think Jesse is smart enough to figure out, I need to make sure I have jury votes for this. So,
do you think he even needs Cody's vote if he's sitting there with Gabler and Owen?
If he's sitting there with Gabler and Owen, I think he needs every vote he can get. Not because I think that let me be very clear with this. I think everybody has a case to win.
Yeah, definitely.
Everybody. There's no clear-cut winner. Like here, from the audience perspective, we're going, wow, what a great confessional. That's really great. We can listen to this kind of thing, right? We're also missing 90% of what's going on out there. I think Jesse will perform the best at Final Tribal. I think Owen's the type of person who will start off really strong, but one question will trip him up, and then he kind of can get frustrated and such. And I think that will probably happen to him. And I think Gabler, through chaotic gameplay and such, and also pure loyalty. If he said he was going to do something, he did. And if you look to the people to the left and right of me, I made it to the same spot and I played a better game. And here's what I did, whatever. Like, he's not going to downplay anything that he's done. He's not going to forget. And he might even come up with some things that you're not even expecting out of him. So there might be people who are swayed for that. There might be people who are like, I don't like how Jesse screwed me over in the game.
So, okay, so let's say in this situation, I want to like run through the votes and see if we can like predict like how that final 3 would go. So we have Jesse, Owen, and Gabler. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So
the cast on the.
What's that?
Put the cast up on the board, and then we can.
I was just gonna go through. I have like the wiki page up, so I'm gonna say like the first juror, and then we'll say like.
So Janine's the first juror.
So I think Janine. I think Janine would vote for Owen. Yeah. Okay, so then next is James. Jesse. Okay. And then Ryan.
I see Ryan voting for Gabler or Owen.
So let's say Gabler just to spice it up a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Ryan's a simple soul. Bless his heart.
I think he's going to care more about challenge performance and who was providing at camp and that kind of thing. I think he's going to see that both of them were working hard, that, you know, he saw both of them win an immunity. You know what I mean? Like,
no, that makes sense. Yeah, I can see that. Let's see. Noelle.
I think she goes Jesse. I could see her voting Owen. I don't see her voting Gabler.
Right. I agree with that. Sammy.
She might vote Owen, actually, now that I think about that a little bit more. I think she's more Owen, because I think that she'll respect all the gameplay stuff that Jesse did because she was against him. But I think that she'll also see like Owen was able to make those tides. And even though he was always out on the boat, he found social ways to either make sure he was in the game or he won immunity where he needed to. Plus, he was loyal to her.
you don't think that like Noelle being on the same like starting tribe and like seeing Jesse play from day one influences things at all?
It could, but he always
Noelle
wanted to.
was very close with Owen though, so
Yeah,
I
she
think
was
you're right.
close with Owen, and I also think that she knows that Jesse and Cody wanted to get her out since the beginning of the game.
Right, and I think that she would be a really good advocate for Owen on the jury as well. Like people would respect her opinion and what she has to say about Owen. Okay, so Sammy, who does Sammy vote for? I think Jesse.
Oh man,
Matt says Gabler.
Honestly, I could see him vote for Gabler. I don't see him voting for Owen. I see him voting for either Gabler or Jesse.
Let's say. What do you want to say, Jesse or Gabler? Matters.
I think he'd vote for Jesse over Gabler, but I wouldn't count Gabler out of that.
Yes, I agree. Cody votes for Jesse.
Depending. If Jesse doesn't give him his idol back, he asks for it, and that's the reason why he goes out of the game, I could see Cody being livid.
Cody lives in Hawaii. He is chill. Like I feel like he will respect the game, right? I don't know.
I could see Cody sit back and make a case for everybody else. I think he could still vote for Jesse and be happy with it. But I could see him make Jesse sweat a little bit and be like, you thought you had this vote, but you fucked me over. You know, I could see Cody be that stinker. So let's say he votes for Jesse, but I'm not convinced. Are you kidding me? He could absolutely vote for a Gabler.
He could, but
he could vote for an Owen and be like, Owen, I bet on you before and I'm betting on you now. Like, you know, like whatever.
I understand like the concept of being bitter, but like I just can't picture Cody going up to the voting booth, taking the little Sharpie out and writing down Gabler when Jesse is sitting right there. I just can't see that happening.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say Jesse.
Okay. Cassidy.
She's Jesse or Cody, or not Cody, Jesse or Owen. I don't think she votes Gabler at all.
I mean, maybe that moment where like Owen like is comforting her after she loses the challenge tonight. Maybe that's like a good microcosm of like him having good jury management.
I could see her either being like, Jesse, I was against Jesse in the game and therefore I need to vote against him now. Or I could see her being like, Jesse played a good ass game and he got both me and Carla out, so he deserves the win.
I'm kind of thinking she goes Owen now.
I kind of think so too.
Yeah.
So let's say Owen.
Yeah.
I think Carla votes Jesse.
Yeah, definitely. Carla, Jesse. All right, that's the jury. So we have 1, 2, 3 votes for Owen. We have 1, possibly 2 for Gabler, and then 4 for Jesse.
So that's what I'm saying is I really think like you would have 3 very different kinds of people.
Yeah.
And depending on how they perform. And I have to imagine you have 3 very different communication styles, 3 engaging communication styles that could all win. I think we as a whole kind of laugh because Gabler's a little bit of an odd duck, right? But I think if he were to get up there and talk passionately, which we know he can do, if you need a reminder, go to the first merge episode where he's given a minute for every person or whatever. We know he can do that. You know, he can bring touching stories. You know, he was basically the father out there, you know, these kind of things. I think he could sway people. I think Jesse could be the best like lawyer kind of talking and discuss the strategy in a very even tone, not show like he's under pressure. Like I think he'd be really good at that. And I think Owen will capture the super fan. Hey, I was on the bottom. I made myself here. Like if Owen wins, it won't be the same at all like a Denise Stapley, but it would be that kind of win. I was on the bottom so much and I survived and I pushed through it and I made the right choices at the end of the game like I needed to.
I won challenges. Yeah. I don't know. I hope. Like I would love to see Owen like pull out the win. Like he's a very rootable underdog. But like if Jesse gets there, man, like somebody, Weston asked like who we would vote for in that final three. I would certainly vote for Jesse. I think he has definitely earned it, and I think he would be. I would say like placing him in like a winners rankings now, and I understand there's like still way too much game left to be played for that to be like realistic to do right now.
Yeah.
But I would probably put him around like 18 or 17 in terms of like Survivor winners. Like I think he's played a pretty good game. Like 17 out of like 43. Like that's nothing to like frown about at all. I think he's played a great game.
Yeah. I personally would vote for Jesse as well. I normally vote for the person who I think played the best strategic game. That said, I also am quite a sucker for an underdog story. And if Owen could show me good strategy through an underdog story, and if he could present that well, I have gone into in games that I've played final, 2s and 3s as a jury member and listened to all the answers and changed my mind based off of purely that, even though I had a whole other idea of who I was going to vote for. So I am somebody that needs to be convinced. And if somebody who I think did really well can't land, nail the landing, then I don't want to vote for that person.
I just don't think that any one of those three is going to pull out like I know you haven't seen China, but like a Todd in China, like final tribal performance, or Marianne in terms of like really like turning it like super on. Like I
think Jesse could.
Okay.
I think Jesse could, because he's going to pull the bomb, which is, hi, y'all. I actually had an idol that none of y'all knew about. And I also had Ginny, which was Janine's idol. And are you kidding me? It's going to be, I know Dwight's not here, but Dwight gave me Janine's idol right beforehand. Does this look familiar here, Janine?
Yeah.
I've had this the entire time. Nobody knew I had an idol. Also, Cody gave me his idol, and I didn't give it back to him, even though I had another idol in my pocket, because I knew I had to get him out. And like, done.
That to me is a game-winning move in modern Survivor, is being able to say, I had an advantage that nobody knew about.
That's how Marianne won.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
She said, I had the only secret in this whole game, which was bam. And then she brought it out. And I was like, you better work. That's how she won. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I love me some Marianne. But she was not going to win if she didn't do that. Mike was going to win. Romeo was going to win. I mean, she was not going to win if she didn't do that.
Can you imagine? Oh, God. That's a scary alternate universe. People want us to talk about the challenge. So I didn't realize this. Rob Sesternino tweeted this out, but this is actually like, people think of this challenge as a Survivor Classic. But this is only the 4th time it's ever been used. Palau, Micronesia, and Caramoan. So it's been like 16 seasons or something like that since we've seen this challenge.
Well, even when they did Caramoan, it had been a while from that. Yeah. It had been since the last Fans versus Favorites, which is the whole reason. Yeah, it had been 10 seasons. It was the whole reason why they brought it back for that season, was because it was the other, Fans versus Favorites season was the last time they did it. And this is so funny because this challenge also, I don't know if you saw this, but Shannon, Gus also tweeted today that Australian Survivor viewers were upset when they made them do this challenge in Australian Survivor because they thought it went way too far. Like, hey, you're putting them in real danger, psychological danger, physical danger by doing this challenge. And there was like a whole article about it. And Shannon was like, meanwhile, this was like the 5th time the U.S. has done this. So like, it's just, they've only done it like
very surprising that like Australians would have a fuss about that, considering like how grueling Australian Survivor is compared to this child sport here.
Now, if I remember correctly, and I haven't watched a lot of Australian Survivor, so you'll have to correct me here, or people in the chat will. Australian Survivor is really physically demanding, right?
Yes. Yes,
this challenge is very mental, and I think that they were saying this goes too far on a mental basis. Like, you're torturing people mentally, and that's not okay.
Do you agree?
That puts them in physical danger. No. I mean, that's a challenge I would actually really like to try to do, because even though I'm riddled with anxiety, that I am constantly convincing myself that I am claustrophobic, and then I become it because I convinced myself, like that kind of challenge. I've been a swimmer. I like have been in oceans and lakes. I've been in riptide flying around before. And even when I got swept up a half mile down the beach in like 30 seconds, I didn't panic one time. Like those kind of things in that moment, I'm comfortable in that kind of water in that situation of knowing, nope, I can't breathe, and knowing, but you have a way out. You have a way out, you can stop and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I really think I'd be good at that. But because of that, I don't think it's coming from the person who can be anxious over everything. Like,
Yeah.
I would be more anxious in a challenge where I'm going to throw out my back doing this.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be the girl who can't compete because she turned her body like this, and all of a sudden she threw out her back because she was holding up a bar for a long
Yeah.
time. You know, that's what I would get anxiety about. That one, I'm like, I have the power to stop this at any given moment where I can just leave and I won't be in any physical danger.
You also have the power just to like throw it at the beginning too, if you're that worried
Totally.
about like your performance in it. So I think it's fair. And like a lot of people in the chat are talking about like the like drowning being like a very like real possibility, and like yes and no. Like Survivor, like I love when they show like behind the scenes like zoom outs of like just the massive scale of production, like, and we don't see any of that on like the actual like final product that like we see on television. We just see like that's, I'm sure that's why they had so many close-ups, is because like I'm sure the shot was so tight, because I'm sure there are like tons of like scuba divers with like oxygen mask thingies to like just in case something happens. And
we only saw one
to
underwater shot from the one angle.
Yeah.
And it's because all around that camera, like you said, there were scuba diver lifeguards and there were lifeguards up above. They have a team of like one lifeguard per person at the very least when they shoot something like this, not to mention they have the doctors right there too. To give this more perspective, when Tasha was like drowning for a second during Cambodia, it took more time of how they showed it on television than it actually did for her to get saved by people. Like when she was going, I can't, because she actually wasn't drowning, but she was going to drown. She was getting into active victim, which is when you do this. This doesn't actually do anything for you, right?
Yeah.
So when you're doing this is an active victim, which means they're keeping their head above water, but they have lost the ability to do anything with their body underneath their arms because they're freaking out. And they might be able to go, I can't breathe, or help, or something like that, but not for long. And you heard her say that as what really was happening. Jeff was going, somebody get Tasha.
Yeah.
And that had already happened. And so like, she got saved right after that shot. That's why they kept cutting it back and forth. Because it would have not taken any time. So the whole point is, I don't think there's a chance that anyone could breathe. I do think there's a chance that somebody could faint and somebody would get them right immediately. I think when you saw Cody release those couple of times before he came back up to the bar, did you notice that the camera zoomed right in on him? And I think it's because they were getting closer to him.
So not only that, but like probably watching the monitor to see like with like a mic being like, all right, go, like go get him. Like, you know, like I'm sure like they've done 43 seasons of Survivor. Like there have been international productions where people have died on set and they've canceled the season and stuff like that. For the most part, like any medevac or situation has not happened because of any like production mishandling or any, I guess like besides like the Caleb thing is probably like that was probably a little too much, but yeah, I just I understand the concerns, but at the end of the day, like nobody is making anybody do anything. It's like even in the context of like you could just throw the challenge if you're
and there's another point that Weston says here, and says I was surprised how Cody said it was cold. The ocean is cold if you're not moving around in it, like, and water is in general. So it's not like you're wading water or doing anything that's keeping your blood flowing, that's going to keep your warmth up. right?
Yeah.
Which also means you're going to lose warmth, but you don't lose it for a long time, right?
Yeah.
So if you're just sitting there and you're just doing this, you're basically in an ice bath at that point, right? And you're also, when you have your arms like this, you're using some muscle groups in your body while the other ones are trying to be relaxed.
Hmm.
And that means that your body is trying to conserve energy to where your muscles are going. So, like your
Right.
lower extremities that maybe aren't doing anything are getting cold, and that's going to affect your grip and like all these different kinds of things too.
Hmm. I like this comment from Heather. She says maybe viewers will feel better to see the lifeguards. I actually think this is a fantastic idea, and we've seen like a lot of times this season in Modern Survivor, Jeff like talking to the cameras before a challenge starts. I think that would like add to like I think that would add to the drama of like the heightened like fear and risk of this challenge in like a good way, but also comforting way that like it's gonna be scary, but uh, they're going to be okay. And here's why. So let's go to the challenge.
I can definitely understand that. Excuse me.
I always
Had
love seeing that
seltzer.
stuff anyway. No, you're good. You're good.
But I think editing wise, because they had this lead up as to like who's the champion, that it would be
I
such a
see.
break in the momentum of going
Yeah.
into that scene if they were like, by the way, they're safe. Like I think it would have been better to do a wide zoom out after the challenge instead of showing them diving in on more of a close up. Show it then, and then show
Yeah.
everybody who's in the water and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, I agree. But bravo to Owen and Carla. Like
incredible.
fucking impressive that like you beat the tide, you beat production expectations in this challenge, and I love it. Good result today.
Imagine some of those swells when they were underwater, they must have been underwater for at least 45 seconds to a minute at a time, and
not knowing when like you can have
not
that air
knowing
exposure.
like if I think Carla said, I kind of became one with the water at one point, which, and I know that sounds like hippy dippy or whatever, but I know what
like
she's
riding with
talking
the
about.
waves, like feeling like that motion.
Like, I know when it's coming, I'm going to take my breath now and then embrace and wait for it.
Yep.
And I think that's great. I also would say that it is both an advantage and a disadvantage to have it's more of a disadvantage to have muscle in this kind of challenge because muscle sinks, fat floats. But it's a disadvantage to have float too much when you get to the very top, right? Because then you're getting uncomfortable with like, I'm not able to control where my legs are going. As someone who has fat on my thighs and such, there will be times where, I've been in water a lot. And if I'm trying to do stuff with my arms, the floating of my legs, I wish they would stay down a little bit more so that I could have the right angles and such. But conversely, when the tide is coming in, there's like those little swells, but you're mostly lower. That would be a great time to have a little bit of fat on you.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so I don't say this as any kind of like commentary on body types or anything like that. I'm saying this as my perspective as someone who is fat and watching the show. I was like, girl,
yeah,
I'm imagining having been out there for 20 days and my body fat has gone down and muscle mass has gone down for some of these people. This probably feels very different for them than they are expecting because they're not used to their body being like that.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Let's see. So Nate says, just realized in the preseason preview, they showed 4 out of the final 6. Jesse, Cody, Carla, Gabler.
Nice.
Any other thoughts before we announce what we're doing next week?
No, I think that's really it. I mean, this was a great episode. We had some interesting strategy. I liked the advantage. And I think that this is something we can look at, modifying and keeping and that kind of thing moving forward.
I forgot to update the drafts. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, that's okay. I do think next week we're going to see idols played and flushed. And I think that whoever gets an idol flushed next week is in real trouble for the final 5. have. So if Carla loses her idol next week,
could you imagine
she's out at 5.
if Cassidy wins the final 6 immunity? Like, that would be a really tough spot for everybody involved. It would
That'd
probably
be
be
incredible.
Gabler or Owen. Probably Owen.
I don't think Gabler and Owen, I think they're in the best position because it's going to be the 2 pairs going after each other.
You don't think Jesse plays both idols? And like, I see all 3 idols being played that round if Cassidy wins immunity.
I could see that for sure. I could also see him not give Cody his idol back and play it for himself at 6 and then 1 at 5, and he makes it to final 4, right?
God, I love this fan fiction.
So if he does that, then it's really between Cody. I see it kind of sounded like the bro duo might be coming to an end next episode.
Yeah, could be a 3-2-1.
Yeah.
All right, so here is our draft. So our patron draft, Liza, Matthew, and Stefan all have 2 left. And
wow, that went from Liza really killing it and Matthew being really far behind.
Yeah.
And like Stefan being behind as well to all being even.
Yeah.
So
I can see a case for anyone winning in this draft.
I do think Liza with having Carla and Jesse is that's the front runner. But
definitely. And then here is our draft.
Yes. So I lose Sammy tonight. But I've got the 2 remaining women.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when Allison did an all men's team and they're like except for Noelle. And now there are 4 of the final 6 are
it's crazy. Pick. This season is so gender imbalanced. It's fucking wild. Ugh.
It's so insane. And they're sitting there and they're like, yeah, we'll get both of the girls out next. And I was like I just don't understand. As somebody who like really genuinely cares about, I understand that this is my positionality in life, right? That I'm somebody who is very cognizant of making sure I'm looking at the bigger picture and what does this send to people at home and to the audience and how does this uphold things that I'm trying to change and that kind of thing. And I know that that's not going to be the same for other people who come in to play a game for $1 million. But if I were to do that, I'd be looking at this and going, so what the fuck? You don't want any women in your final? Do you know how fucking misogynistic that I would play that card? Trust and believe. If I'm going home at final 6 and there's only 1 other woman left, I'm just going to be like straight up like, Jeff, I think that this season has really struggled with misogyny. And I'm going to point it out by saying like, every time it's been, let's focus on a weak person, it's always been a woman. And I would bring it all up and be like, and here's some reading for you guys to do. Look at these articles. You're going to read this bitch and all of her things. You're going to listen to this podcast. Like I would go off. And yes, that would be using social justice and impact for strategy. And yes, that might be dubious in nature. But if it saves me in the game and it teaches a lesson, well, great. And if it only teaches
everybody
a lesson,
wins.
Hey, everybody wins.
Who loses in that situation, right? Like men. And I think
men have and you know what? Fuck men.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it always comes back to. One more question. Matt said, what happens if we have 4 people safe, then a tie vote between Gabler and Owen that cannot be broken?
Rocks between Gabler and Owen. Or everybody who had sorry, everybody who was safe doesn't become safe afterwards. And so because Owen and Gabler would not vote.
All 4 would be safe from like idols or winning the immunity challenge. Because remember in Cambodia when all the votes were canceled out, like Jeremy, like even in the revote like situation, like Jeremy, Spencer, Kelly.
Right. So what ends up happening is the people who were safe from idols and everything don't become safe anymore. And they're the ones, if they can't break the thing, then the people who were getting the tie between them, they become safe and everybody else has to lose their immunity. So it's give up your immunity and stay strong for who you're voting for, or who's going to flip so that you can stay safe for that vote.
But that's only if those 4 people can't come to a unanimous decision.
Correct. No, it doesn't have to be unanimous. I don't think.
I
think
did in Cambodia.
It did? Okay, so if they can come to a unanimous vote about one of those 2 people, then that person goes home. And if they can't come to a unanimous vote, then they no longer are safe. Owen and Gabler become safe, and then Owen and Gabler decide who go home.
Who do you think they choose in that situation?
I think that they would choose Owen over Gabler. And I think Gabler and Owen would choose Jesse or Cody.
Yeah, I agree.
Probably Jesse.
That would be very cool. I would love that.
Honestly, if that's how Jesse goes down, that's iconic.
Yeah. And then he can't be mad at Jesse, and then he votes for Jesse in the end.
No, I said Jesse.
Oh,
if
well,
that's how Jesse goes down.
Yeah. No, sorry. I thought you said Cody.
Yeah. Nope.
All right, cool.
It may be the person who won immunity is still safe. I can't remember. If you win immunity, I don't think that could be taken away from you, even if you were safe or whatever. I think it's if you play an idol that becomes nullified if you cannot come to a unanimous decision. But I don't know. I'll have to rewatch Cambodia to see what they did there. But that has been the rule. Yeah.
I'll have to see if, I wonder if Stephen Fishback is like talking about this exact situation on
right now.
Curious,
I know
like,
it also.
I'm just curious, like what his take on that scenario would be.
What I miss is having Jeff with his whiteboard going, "All right, guys. So what we see here is blah blah blah," and I'm like, "Oh God."
Wow, 31 seasons later, and things are still happening for the first time. God, poor Kimmy.
Jeez.
I
didn't care about Kimmy going home on that phone.
I was a Kimmy stan, and I understand like she's like not good politically, and I don't associate with that at all. But I was such an animal lover in elementary school. So like when Kimmy was like the first vegetarian on Survivor, I was in like 4th grade watching it, and I just loved that she like would not eat the chickens. Like she would not. I just like had a lot of respect for that. Like just humanity. And so like, and just what a random person to bring back after all that time. I was so excited to see her back on campus.
Well, I mean, she was voted in.
Yeah. So, and you bet your ass I voted all 10 votes for her.
So the person with the last spot with 10 votes.
Who won by 10 votes.
Tyler Lyons votes.
I love it.
Funny.
All right. So to everybody, next week Allison is visiting here in New York City, so we're gonna have a fun week of adventures and stuff, and we're so excited because we were kind of hoping that the Survivor finale would fall on when she was visiting, but we were 1 week off. But so Wednesday night we're gonna all be at your apartment watching Survivor, and then we're gonna do our own very own live like show in person for the 3 of us. So all 3 of us will be in the same room podcasting together.
It's going to be interesting because I don't know how we're going to do it. If we're going to try to, like, Dylan and I were able to fit in one frame, but we might have Allison sit on one of our laps and go from there.
Or I could bring my laptop over and like we could do the stream like from my laptop. So like we're on like the couch.
I thought about putting my camera up on the TV.
Okay.
And us sitting on the couch, so we may be farther away, but we could use the mic like this and pass it around to each other.
I like that. That feels very official. Like it feels very like.
I got the mic here.
Interview.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at our sweaty balls now.
I love it.
Your balls are very moist. So good, but it's Christmas time, so you have to watch that.
Yes. Okay.
We can watch that together when Allison's here next week.
Wait, what is that movie? Or is it a skit? An
it's an SNL skit, yeah.
Okay, that's right. I haven't seen it, so that just went over my head. But I think we're also gonna we're gonna be walking around just for like a time for any patrons that want to meet us. We don't have like an exact time yet, but on Friday, probably around like noonish. We're gonna be at the Union Squares.
And not just patrons. If there's any listeners
Well,
that
yes,
want to
that's
come
not
and
what I
like
mean.
hang
I'm
out with
sorry.
us, only if you support us via money can you come. No. If anybody's in the New York City area and you want to come walk around the Union Square Christmas stalls with us on Friday, probably at like 10:30 in the morning or something like
Yeah.
that.
Because we have
for
lunch
a
plans, so we have to like head out after that.
Yeah.
But we figured that would be a fun, like, cool time for like anybody that wants to hang with us. They're able to. So if you want to do that, let us know. But I'm sure we'll be like tweeting out like exact details and stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's not this Friday. It's next Friday. The
Yes.
the 9th.
Yeah, the 9th. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So
Cool. Awesome.
Cool.
So I think that's everything. And yeah, so we'll see. I'm feeling better about the season now that we're like heading down the pipeline.
The past few episodes have been really fantastic, and so now that we're starting to really see this gameplay come alive, I think that's really great. But I will say once again, idle hoarding and that kind of thing is still an issue. So if they could find a way to make sure that people aren't just like saving advantages and such, and that's not to add more, but maybe to add like this idle's only good for the next X amount of votes or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think it makes more interesting gameplay, but we'll see.
Yeah,
so if you are interested in supporting us via money, you can become a patron at patreon.com/myweeklymeltdown. You can also feel free to support us by leaving a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of those wonderful places where you get podcasts. Make sure to like and subscribe here on YouTube. Keep that notifications on so you know when we go live. And we are so excited to have you all as a part of this messy, meltdowny kind of family.
Yes. We love you all. We are thankful for you guys, especially during the holidays. It's just a time for being grateful, and we're grateful for all of you guys. So.
And we're thankful. Just know that we are looking to change our last screen that has the patrons listed on there.
Yes.
But if you have become a patron, know that we do thank you so very much. And if you are no longer a patron, please know that we're so appreciative of you regardless. So
yes. All right. Well, everybody have a good rest of your night. We'll see you guys next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.